Hi, everyone. Thanks very much, team, for inviting me. It's a big thrill. I want to tell you a story today about cortisol, paranoia, a couple of digressions, and a hint of hysteria. So there's a couple of things you need to know about me before I begin. The first is that I am not entirely likable. That's the verdict of the Times newspaper, no less, when they were kind enough to run a review of my book. But, you know, that comes as a shock. I'm not an asshole, I'm a nice guy. But, you know, all my friends now, they come up to me and they delight in reminding me. They say, it's the truth. You're not entirely likable. Great. The second thing to know was a piece of career advice that I got from a Dubliner, a guy called Jerry Quin, who was related to the Queen that went with Scott to the Antarctic. And Jerry at that time was the president of the British Society of Gastroenterologists. And he came along to my first ever grand round as an SHO when I was 24. And it was a case of an amoebic abscess. And as you know, the pus in an amoebic abscess looks like anchovy sauce. And I thought, I know what to do. I'll go to the supermarket and buy a bottle of anchovy sauce and a pan loaf. So I took them out in the presentation, dumped them down, got a laugh, and I thought, this is great. It went well, walked off the stage. Half an hour later, Jerry phones me up. He pages me, says, come to my office. So he sits me down and he says, that was great. That was really funny. Then his face changed. And he said, there's only one thing, though. You're a doctor, not a fucking comedian. Whoa. So, anyway, back to cortisol. About 10 years ago, I got a phone call from a woman I used to work with who's a coroner in another part of the country. She said, can you give me a second opinion on a tragic case? A 19-year-old who had died, and a professor in endocrinology had said he thought the woman had died of undiagnosed Addison's disease, an inability to make cortisol. So I got the case notes, reviewed them, and there was a very poignant detail jumped out. This poor girl had been drinking a bottle of soy sauce with her breakfast, and her mum and dad knew this is not right. She was diagnosed as having an eating disorder. She ended up going to an A&E department, cardiac arrest, died. So when I reviewed the notes, I agreed with the professor, thought, yes, this is undiagnosed Addison's. And my colleague, the coroner, then put out a nationwide communication. Think about Addison's disease if you've got someone with unexplained weight loss. So my paranoia was increasing. And because I practiced in Brighton and Hove, Thomas Addison himself actually lived in Hove. So it was like his ghost from the past sending me these messages. Don't forget my condition. Don't forget my condition. Okay, Tom. Okay. Digression. So I'm in Venice a couple of weeks ago. Because I'm retired, I can do that sort of thing now. So we're at the Biennale, as you do. And I'm with a friend of mine who's called Danvers, who's in my book, a wee story about Kylie Minogue, which I won't go there. But anyway, we're in Venice. He's an acute care physician working very, very hard, total stress, corona, and he wants to spend a lot of money in posh restaurants, which is great when you're earning money, but if you're retired, not so good. But anyway, we pitch up at this restaurant and we're an hour late, and the restaurateur has given the table away. He's charged Danvers €200. So he's fuming. Danvers is mad. It's raining as well. Now, Venice, rain, cheap pizzas. This is a disaster. Holidays going down the pan. And I think, I've got to cheer him up. Now, I'm not a fucking comedian, but I remembered a sketch. There's a Glaswegian comedian called Brian Limond. And he's got a sketch where he has a Glasgow University student who is arguing on a question time situation with a politician. And they're arguing whether it can ever be right to kill someone. The politician's giving a flim-flam answer, and the student's having none of it. He's a total irritant. And he's saying, answer, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. And I think, And then from behind me in Venice, this voice shouts, yes. Turn around, and there's 3 Irish women. And before we know it, there's a gang of 9 of us, bottle of wine, it's all going swimmingly. Danvers starts to cheer up. I think this is great. So I'm talking to this lady, getting to know her. She says, I say, what? She said, my name is Alice Marr. And I thought, Alice is one of Ireland's best artists. And we get talking about fiction. I say to her, I've just finished this brilliant set of short stories by Wendy Erskine, a Belfast writer. And then Alice says, hey, I've designed her book cover. And I thought, so the coincidences are mounting and mounting. I said, look, I'm off to Galway. Do you know what you're doing there? I said, I'm really intimidated because I'm talking. And, well, for a start, there's a real fucking comedian there called Tommy Tiernan. Alice says, oh, no, don't worry, Tommy's lovely, Tommy. And I said, yeah, but even more intimidating, there's a Booker Prize winner, there's Anne Enright's going to be there. Alice says, oh, Anne's a good pal of mine, don't worry, both of those people, they're entirely likable, you'll be fine. So, my cortisol level starts to drop, but I mean, if you measured it right now, it's about 10,000 or something like that. Okay, so so back to cortisol again, in a more recent story. Danvers, he's coming down from Glasgow to stay with my wife and I, and he says he'll be there about 5 o'clock, and it's a Friday, and it's 3 o'clock in the clinic, bit of admin, nothing much to do. The phone goes off, typical Friday afternoon. The biochemist says, John, we've got a young lad here, 17-year-old, he's got a cortisol of 5. Now 5 is... It's not consistent with long-term existence for more than 24 hours or something. I'm like, 5? What? Who did that? And he said, oh, it's the diabetes nurse specialists have ordered it. I thought, wow, they're fantastic. Went along, congratulated them, and they said, yeah, well, you know, if you've got, this boy had type 1 diabetes, if you've got well-controlled type 1 diabetes and you're losing weight, you have to think of coexistent autoimmune Addison's disease. Brilliant, they've done it, superb. So I dash to the phone, get to the computer, I'll phone up this boy. Nothing. I think, what to do? And I think, hang on, he lives in Peacehaven, which is just along the coast. I'll take a prescription, I'll just go up, knock on the door, give him it, I'll get back okay for Danvers. So I go outside, there's a cab rank, into a cab. Lovely cab driver, really nice guy. I give him a sense of the urgency, and we're heading out. And yeah, really nice taxi driver. Not at all like this other taxi driver I was in recently in Brighton. He was horrendous. I get in the cab, and there's a heroin problem in Brighton. And we pass, there's some poor guys on the street, and this taxi driver goes, oh, I hate junkies. We drive on again. There's another couple of lads at the street. Oh, junkies. So he's doing my head in. I think, this guy's awful. I think, what to do? So we arrive at the destination. I think, So I look at him in the rear view mirror, and I say, do you know what? Don't worry. One day, a wave will come along and wash all the scum off the streets. And he looks at me like I'm a complete psycho. But then I get off the cab, and I think, yes, I've managed to quote the movie Taxi Driver to a taxi driver. So I'm with the nice taxi driver. We get to Peacehaven, knock on the door. This woman comes to the door. I say, who? Who? And I'm like, no, is this lad here? No, there's no one of that address here. I think, oh, shit. So I get in the cab, we go back to outpatients, and I think, I know what to do. It's 4 o'clock now. I know what to do. I phone the boy's GP. Maybe his mum is registered with, and the GP says, yeah, have you got a number? Yeah. So I phone this woman. She says, yeah, what? Addison's? Yeah, well, I'm worried about your boy. And, oh, I'll get hold of him. Where is he? He's in Alton Towers. Alton Towers Park. So I've got this vision of him being on some roller coaster thing with a cortisol of 5. I'm like, oh my God. 10 minutes later, I've got him. He'll come along and see you tomorrow to pick up the prescription. So I was like, phew, fantastic. I go home, Danvers arrives, we're all on time, we go for a meal, everything's working out. This time, no problems with the restaurant, food's lovely. Have the dessert. Danvers' wife then heads off to the loo. Oh, she starts screaming and yelling. Oh my God, what now? What now? Turns out the woman sitting beside us had gone to the loo. She's got epilepsy. She collapses, has a fit, bangs her head, blood everywhere. Danvers goes into acute care mode and whatnot. We get her up to the hospital. She turns out fine, but I'm like that, what a day, give me a break. Anyway, I'm coming up for retirement, and I'm walking down the corridor one day, and there's a manager, a hospital manager, who comes up to me and says, John, can I have a word? I said, yeah. He said, you're ordering quite a lot of cortisol levels. They're quite expensive, And in my head, I'm thinking, get the fuck. But I don't say that. And I don't say that because, as you've already guessed, I am, in fact, an entirely likable guy. Thanks very much.